What up, y'all? We are here for a new moon workshop. It's a new moon in Taurus. Happy new moon. Taurus is a fixed earth sign ruled by Venus. I actually have a stellium of Taurus, a stellium in Taurus. So I have like four or so placements in the sign of Taurus, and then I'm a Libra rising. So I'm a very Venus forward character. And as you might notice, as a true Venus driven person, I'm surrounded by like beautiful, cushy pillows of like, pleasing fabrics, lots of blankets, lots of beautiful, interesting artwork everywhere. I love comfort. I love stability. I love security. Venus rules love and money. And so our sustenance is connected to our self-worth and sense of deserving, and so are our relationships. So those are all interconnected in Venus. So different things can be kind of coming to the forefront right now, but this is a really potent time and an exciting opportunity to plant seeds that are going to be coming into fruition like 6 months from now. So that'll be like, I think like October or November, actually. I think it's six months from now. So very exciting. I'm feeling the beginnings of like new cycle energy. Like things are starting to shift just a little bit, and little inklings here and there. And I've had so many wonderful blessings to be grateful for this week, just through so many different avenues, and through work and money and just good feelings of love around me. And so I'm feeling the influence of that Tauran energy for sure. And the wonderful thing about new moons is that the new moon is the seed that we plant for the whole moon cycle. So until our blue moon in actually beyond that, because it's going to last 30 days because it lasts through the waning cycle too. But so the next month we're going to be in this Tauran energy. It's going to have an influence over what we're doing. So this is a great time to plant seeds that we want to grow, that will fill our lives with beauty and abundance and love, right? So if you've been wanting to manifest a relationship or an increase in your like financial security, right? Starting new habits and starting new belief systems actually is where really you should start. Because this week I have made like really good money, like several times in 1 week. And that's kind of unheard of. And so what's interesting about that is two things. One, this week, the Torah portions have been centered around understanding the true source of all blessing and all sustenance and all fulfillment, which is the Creator. And the more we acknowledge that, and the more we realize that we've got really nothing on our own, we're nothing without the Creator, even all the hard work we put in, we don't necessarily deserve what we get, right? It's just like we're always being given more than we deserve. And even though like, yes, we'll put in the hard work for it, it won't work out unless the Creator wills it. So it's like just not taking anything for granted and realizing that we're not the one, like not to take pride, but to have humility, not to have entitlement, but to have real gratitude and appreciation. And again, that humility. And so that humility and that gratitude combined with the remembering that it doesn't matter the circumstances, because God is the source of all that is, and God isn't limited by circumstances. The only reason why we think that we're limited by circumstances is because the limiting circumstances are part of the simulation. And it's there to be like, kind of like a bait to see like, will we remember? Like it's just there as a mirage to see if we can be smarter than the mirage. Oh yeah, this is an illusion. It doesn't matter if, for instance, I keep falling through the cracks with the hosts, or things aren't working out at work, or I keep getting bad tables or whatever. That doesn't matter, because the one table can come in and God can catch me up or give me 3 times what I made, yesterday in one night, if God wants to, if that's what needs to happen. I'm not limited by who's around me or what seems fair or unfair. They're only there to see when I'll be wise enough to be like, it doesn't matter if it appears to be fair or unfair. Like, God can take care of me anyway. Like, I'm not relying on these circumstances as my source. My source is beyond this. My source is above this. So my source is limitless, really. So the anxiety is just putting like a limitation on God's fullness, So I think that's interesting. So literally understanding those concepts and really meditating on those concepts this week. And also I've shifted my prayers, which I think this is an important factor too. So instead of praying that, I usually have always prayed, not always, but like when I created a very serious prayer practice, I prayed for a change of heart and consciousness and mindset and those things, but I also would pray for the circumstances to change, or the circumstances to shift in the way that I want them to, certain things to happen or come through or stop happening or whatever. And so I stopped praying about the circumstances this week or within the last week or so. And I've only been praying for help with wisdom and strength to know how to navigate those, and really just focusing on praying for my own transformation, my own change of mindset, my own change of heart, my own change of consciousness, my ability to forgive, my ability to not be a wretch. Trying to un-Larry David myself in a way. And just focusing on that. And I think those 3 things, and then the 4th thing being that I have been declaring it verbally to others. I've been sharing that information, not to brag or to boast about what I've received, because that puts you under evil eye. So that actually damages what you've received. But if you are like giving a testimony genuinely about like the goodness of God in order to inspire others, then that increases it also. So I don't know. I think that's really, really interesting. This afternoon, it being the new moon energy, I didn't even think about this, but I just really strongly had this feeling or a desire to be able to go into work, be working on a private party with like maybe these certain people, and it be like about this size, and we make about this much money each. And I walked in. Those were exactly the circumstances, and in fact, we made more, by like a bit more than I had put out there in my mind. So I knew that my prayer was answered. I told them, like, I prayed for this, the prayer was answered, like every detail was there. It was amazing. So yeah, I think good things. This is a fixed energy. So it's the kind of energy that might feel hard to shift, but once it does, it can be kind of solid in there for a while. It's like you're really cementing things in a fixed energy, a fixed sign. So change that also happens now is going to be even more deeply transformative and exponentially beneficial, because too, we're in the counting of the Omer. And we are rounding out the final days of the second to last week, and so this next week will be Shavuot is at some point next week. And so Shavuot is the day or the holiday that marks the day that God gave the Israelites the Torah. So that's the big grand finale and celebration. So the things that we can transform during this window of time will connect us to miraculous blessings and the storehouse of those, at least for the next year or the rest of this year, or kind of playing out, as they need to. But so all of that is kind of culminating right now. So this is a very potent time to plant seeds of your desires and intentions and fertilize those seeds with not only your actions, like say you'll cultivate the seeds and tend to the seeds with your actions and the action steps you take and that divine inspiration. I think I need to do this or set this thing up. I'm going to go do that and do that. But the fertilizer for the seed is the depth of the transformation in yourself. What you're willing to give up in your ego, right? Not just in your sweat and your blood, but what parts of you are you ready to transcend beyond? And what negativity are we ready to leave behind? And that fertilizes those seeds so that they grow and they're like super fruitful. So I'm excited. I feel really good right now. And then we have a blue moon at the end of the month, which is it's like when you have 2 full moons in 1 month, or like 4 full moons in one season, or both. So that's really cool. So that's the first one that's been, I think, in like 3 years. So I'm excited. I feel good about that energy too. And also this new moon in Taurus, I think, is our first lunation in Taurus, when Uranus hasn't been in Taurus in like a few years. Like, remember a couple of weeks ago during that Scorpio lunation was the full moon, and Uranus moved into Gemini, and everybody just kind of turned diabolical all of a sudden and just very blunt and very direct in their communication. Yes, Uranus finally moved out of Taurus's anus and into Gemini's anus. So it might have felt like over the past few years we were just trying to, as hard as we could, to get some stability and to make changes that would bring us more security and more consistency, and it just wasn't happening. It was like we were thwarted at every end, and that's because Uranus is a butthole. It's the planet of like disruption and change and like shocks and surprises. So it's a lot of low-hanging fruit for the butthole humor there about Uranus. I love it. So this might be the first lunation that we have in Taurus where it feels like, oh, you mean I can like set an intention and like something manifests? That really works. Like, I was starting to give up and just think of myself as a lunatic. Yeah, no, I mean, like, literally. And I think that because we've been like salmon swimming upstream with this, where we're trying to like manifest these things, and it's just like trying to turn over a car that won't start. And like, it just kind of comes out today where it's like, I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be great if, and I just totally let it go. And it's like our manifestation muscles are so strong and so astute now that, yeah, like, it's like we can align ourselves with a blessing from God like that. Like it's nothing, because we've had to practice in such terribly like difficult conditions over the past however long Uranus has been in Taurus. Feels like my whole life. So, so that's good. That feels a lot lighter. So interesting. All right. Well, is there anything else? Also, at the end of this month, our full moon is in our blue moon is in Sagittarius. And so that, is also, so Jupiter is like strongly prominent in that, even though it's like the ruling planet of Sagittarius, and the moon will be in that constellation, or it'll be in that sign. But there was also something about Jupiter, like a couple of other things that was making Jupiter even more potent during that full moon. And also Jupiter will be conjunct with Venus, so expanding all those Venus themes. So be sure over the next waxing period, the period of becoming, growing light towards the full moon, really get like just steeped and marinate in your Venus themed desires and goals. What do you want to see as far as relationships in your life, whether that be with your family and friends and beloveds and loved ones and lovers and whoever. How do you want your like money to feel, and how you make that money, and the flow of your security and your stability? Like, do you feel good? Do you feel fulfilled and satisfied there and feel abundant? How are your surroundings? Are your surroundings inspiring you? Do you feel creative? Do you want to create something? Do you want to, suddenly fill yourself with like delicious foods and candles that smell good and perfumes and oils and all the things? Like, I'm such a Venus. Like, I've got an incense going, I've got a candle burning. I forgot to turn on my oil diffuser thing in the kitchen. Like, I love smells. I love like things happening. So how are you beautifying your life and making that sacred? Think about all of those things, those dreams that fill you up like that and inspire you over the next couple of weeks, because it's going to be very potent to do so. All right, let's get into the reading. So our first card out is going to represent us in the context of this moment. Ooh, deservingness is the key to unlocking your manifestation. Have you ever noticed in life that sometimes total a-holes are getting ahead, and you're like, why are great things happening to such rotten people so much of the time? And a lot of times we forget, most of the time we forget, that the universe is essentially running on spiritual laws that are every bit as non-negotiable as like the law of gravity. So what's happening is that it's not that like God is like watching and getting like emotionally involved and everything, and he's like taking our prayers like fan mail, and he's like, oh well, this is like we're Make-A-Wish kids, and he's like, well, I've got to do this and let's see if they come through there. It's like there is a temperature gauge that we're working with, and vibration doesn't lie, right? And so there's certain spiritual and energetic laws that are just at play. And so these greedy, selfish, narcissistic people that always seem to get away with it or get ahead, or they're, stacking up all the cash. When we look at all around us, look at the eat the rich situation right now, right? So those people have like this overinflated sense of deservingness. And it's creating such a magnetic energy around them that they're able to like draw in blessings and abundance and good luck, essentially, because their sense of deservingness is so strong, if not delusional and undeserved, but it's still so strong, and they believe it so much that it's getting the laws of the attraction moving. It's getting those laws of spirituality and metaphysics turning, and so it's starting to create, right? So the thing is with a lot of people is that we want things, but we don't believe that we deserve them. And maybe that's even on a subconscious level, but we're not narcissistic enough to just shrug it all off and be like, I'm deserving, me first, that kind of thing. So a lot of our blessings get left on the table because we have like this unconscious kind of lack around our sense of deservingness. And so that's why it seems like life is always fair, because there's a spiritual law that we're always getting more than we deserve. We're always getting better than what we deserve. But essentially we are getting what our vibration is calling in. And so if we feel that things are out of balance and we're like, why is this person getting all of this and why am I not? Because I see, even though you're measuring, and this is like bad, sticky situation to get into because you're going to lock yourself up in this like hairball of negativity. But like, say you're already in this hairball of negativity and you're comparing and you're judging, and you're like, well, why is this person getting all this and I'm not? It very likely be that they have like this diluted sense of grandeur, deservingness, and that it's like creating such a magnetism that they're, siphoning things in very easily because they don't have any resistance to it. And maybe on some level, you're not even aware of feeling undeserving, but there's something resisting the blessings coming in to you because of that. So deservingness is the key to unlocking your manifestation. So self-worth, self-esteem, we've been talking about self-worth and self-esteem recently, and what does that look like, right? How does that play out? And for me, I was thinking, I was telling you guys recently about how I once was like, why do I attract these type of guys that are like, they're so flaky and they never follow through on what they say, and they like tell me these things, and it's like almost like they're just like, they know they're lying, like they don't even have any intention of following through. And I'm like, how do I keep attracting that? Like, what is it in me that's like vibrationally like a match to this? And then I realized that every time that I knew that I should like get up and go to bed rather than like trying to like watch a show, even though I know I'm falling asleep. And then I end up, sleeping and then waking up and having to get up and go to bed, and it interrupts my sleep cycle. Like, I should just, when I get tired, get up and go to bed, regardless of whether I'm done hanging out or not, and just get a good night's sleep, get up early, and set myself up for success. And that is a hard habit to break. And usually I'm fairly disciplined about following through on stuff, but that I've been a real flake about. And I realized every time I do that, I'm being that guy that is telling me empty promises with no intention on following through. And I'm disrespecting myself, and I am lying to myself, and I am not acting in integrity with myself, and I'm not being dependable or trustworthy or like consistent, So I'm like, oh my God, I'm a deadbeat. So little things like that, when we follow through on taking positive action to take good care of ourselves, that's really showing ourselves self-esteem, self-worth. When we take action towards our dreams and we follow through on those things, we're showing ourselves that we believe in ourselves. That builds our self-worth. When you spend time trying to refine your personality and heal your heart and heal your soul, that you care about yourself, you're showing yourself you love yourself, right? Because you're giving yourself eternal treasures at that point. So these are things that we do that will increase our conscious perception of our self-worth. And in doing so over time, it will shift our subconscious understanding of our self-worth as well, and our deservingness. Okay, so that's a pretty specific thing to tackle. It's not broad and vague. It's like, okay, right now a lot can come in and a lot wants to come in, and it's very potent manifesting energy, but you got to make sure that your deservingness is in check, because if you don't feel deserving, then all your blessings are going to get stuck in the sorting center, right? No, when's my package coming? You're going in circles. So what's crossing us now is like a lesson that keeps repeating, and we keep going in circles around the same issue. So a negative pattern, cycles, stuck in a loop, repeating the same mistake. It's time for a new story. So maybe what's happening is the cycle that we keep coming around to is that whatever happens when we're about to build up momentum or find success, we're struck with a sense of undeservingness or an echo of that undeservingness that might have been projected on us at one point in our childhood. And then our subconscious says, uh-oh, this is dangerous. If we succeed, we'll be in unfamiliar territory, and it might put us at risk of offending the vital people in our life. So let's stay small, let's stay safe, let's self-sabotage. Ta-da! Our inclination is triggered. What are we inclined to do when we're feeling triggered? This is the thing that prevents us from moving forward in our success. So, in Kabbalah class the other night, we were learning about the 5 egos. And one, let's see, I've got them written down over here. Before you manifest something or you're successful in something, you'll be triggered in one of the 5 egos usually. And that's judgment, anger, control, pride, and physical lust. And that could be lust for sex, but it could also be lust for material pleasures of like clothes, food, drugs, sex, drugs, rock and roll, pudding. So think about this. We're about to repeat a lesson. Oh my God. Okay, so hold on. This is crazy. This is crazy, you guys. We had, okay, so deservingness is the core of this. Oh, before I forget, I also wanted to say that I just ran across a post on social media the other day, and it was talking about the patterns of having like if you had a narcissistic mother. It was like the classic things that this mother would do if you had like a narcissistic mother. And one of the things was that if they sense that the child is getting too confident or too big or too talented or whatever, and that threatens the mother, like the child could leave or go off or grow beyond her, she, like, just as when the child is like building their confidence, they do something to undermine that confidence. Like they plant seeds of doubt, or they flat out like make you feel ashamed or whatever. So maybe like narcissism is a spectrum, right? And it's not always super obvious. So maybe you didn't even realize that your mother had narcissistic tendencies to make you feel like covertly make you feel undeserving. And that happened early in your childhood. And so you've been navigating someone who weaponizes your deservingness all your life, and you didn't even realize that. And it's a survival mechanism, and it sends you into these cycles. You're going in circles and you keep repeating it. And so this is what we have to interrupt. So when we're triggered and our inclination comes up, we have to watch for that pattern. How are we about to self-sabotage? What are we about to do that's very familiar, where we're like, oh no, I'm about to do this again, right? So the next card is the subconscious influence that's affecting the situation. And this was like separate in my hand. I didn't even like consciously draw this card, but look, y'all are gonna, it's crazy. A lesson you're meant to repeat. Okay, so I love this deck. Actually, this is my deck that I wrote, and it's called this, well, I'm not gonna go into detail because I don't want like some AI to like steal it. But this is such a specific, there's so many cards and they're so honed in, because my thing with like so many oracle and even with the tarot sometimes is it's so broad. It can be like, you're like, well, if you're in the middle of oracle abuse and you're like trying not to lie to yourself, but you are, you're like lying to yourself and you're like, man, okay, so am I supposed to interpret this card this way or this way? Because it could be neither, like which one? And so this deck was meant to be very straight up, like very like specific. So let's read a little bit from the card. So a lesson you're meant to repeat: natural cycles, growth, going deeper, next level, everything is fine. You're meant to learn something from this. Now, remember, we're in the counting of the Omer. So if we can transform, this is for the time between the leaving of Egypt and the parting of the Red Sea specifically. So the time between the parting of the Red Sea, when the Israelites were like kind of made it out of their like escape, and then their trek through the desert all the way to Mount Sinai. So this is a 49-day period between the splitting of the Red Sea and Mount Sinai. And then when they on the last day, that's when God meets the Israelites and gives them the Torah, right? So if we can, so we're going through the desert during this time. So we are like, the theme of this time of year is to be challenged. That's, people know the counting of the Omer is like challenging times. So the challenge is a gift, because it's showing us exactly, like, it's like while we're paying attention and while we're awake, the universe is like, hey, okay, while you're working on things consciously to transform, you can tackle one of the key patterns that is keeping you anchored and stuck. And if you can do it during this time, it's going to be so powerful. It's going to reveal so much light. So it's going to be such a gift. You're going to have to get really triggered about this so you can see it, so it's really obvious, right? But what's coming up? What is, where is your, like, think, like, let your soul, your spirit talk to you about your deservingness. Show that, like, when you're getting triggered and about anything over, this time period, think about how that relates to your sense of deservingness. Pay attention to the reflexive responses that come up around this, and understand that this cycle is repeating, but it's not repeating because you're a failure and you haven't healed it and all this stuff. It's repeating right now because it's supposed to repeat right now. This is like, it's like being tested during final exams or like midterms. Like, this is the time to bring it up. So it's good that it's coming up. It's like going in for a physical instead of having to go to the doctor because like you've gotten an ailment. Okay, all right. The next card is going to be something like an issue that's in the past, and it's still affecting us a little bit, but we're almost out of the woods. Okay. Ooh, compromise. The situation requires give and take for a win-win situation. You don't have to compromise yourself or your values to find healthy compromise in the situation. So I feel like, in a way, we have figured out like ways to compromise on things that have been beneficial. And we have learned from times that we had to compromise ourselves in situations that we don't want to repeat again or wouldn't do again, or really subtle ways that we compromised ourselves that we didn't realize until way later. And now we're like, oh, looking back, like I wish, I don't want to do that again. Like I want to be more true to myself and my path. So I think we're starting to learn on like what things we can compromise and be flexible with, and what kinds of things we aren't willing to compromise on, because I think we really know who we are coming out of this period of initiation. All right, what's crowning us? Ooh, needs more planning. So this is perfect for Taurus, very grounded, very practical. So taking it slow and steady wins the race. But before we haphazardly like rush ahead with something, we need to take our time. It needs more planning. For instance, like this Substack, like putting, like creating my publication. It's like, I don't know. Every time I think I'm gonna get on there and like knock out a task, it like there's like 14 like side quests and like rabbit holes you have to go down, and everything's kind of hard to navigate. And so I've just tried to not beat myself up about it, but also not rush through it, because there's so many details that if you got wrong, it could be, you could be doing a lot of work in the wrong direction. So it's like, it's good to just, take it slow, make sure that you've prepared properly, that you've planned well. So details, research, strategy, building foundations, well thought out, but practical action steps, methodical, focus and clarity, sharp intention. Oh. All right, the card that's like coming up around the corner is your destiny is calling you. So the time is now. Answer the call. The world needs your gifts. You have something unique to share. I love my couch, but the cushions are really weird. They have like the foam, but then on top of the foam, they have like a goose down like pillow topper, and it just gets really uneven, and it's really weird for my like alignment. And sorry, so I'm moving around a lot, but my hips are hurting. All right. Okay, the next card will represent our perspective that is affecting the situation. Sometimes it's like negatively kind of affecting the situation. Ooh, this is a spiritual issue to overcome. So whatever we are sort of perceiving the situation to be, like maybe we're obsessed with the surface level circumstances. Like, oh, this person's doing this and they're doing that. It's getting on my nerves. Or I don't have enough money to do this because all these things are so expensive. Instead of focusing on fighting fire with fire, fighting the material world with material solutions, the seed of everything is our consciousness, our vibration. And that's what I was getting at earlier, and I might have gotten sidetracked. But if we change what's on the inside first, we do the spiritual work, we find the root of the pattern on the spiritual level and transform that, then the outer circumstances will shift. The circumstances are the circumstances because they're there to reflect back to you what they want you to fix on the inside. The circumstances are like the indicator of what needs to be dealt with on the inside. But we think it's the other way around. We think that we see something on the outside and our feelings about that are the indicator that we need to do something on the outside. And it's not that we don't need to take like those physical actions and maybe make changes on the outside too. But if it's an interior problem, an intrinsic problem, a spiritual issue, and we're just trying to put topical ointment on the physical circumstances, then they'll never be quite right? So we have to heal that internal issue because that's the source, that's the root, that's what's creating, that's the vibration that's creating that reality. All right, what is the outer conditions, or how are we being affected by the outside? How are other people affecting us? Spiritual rebirth. Ooh, renewed spirit, energy, enthusiasm, inspiration, motivation, and confidence and drive. So that sounds like, ooh, fun people, like we're really inspired, but that might be the case. You might be surrounded by fun people who really inspire you and make you feel spiritually renewed. But unfortunately, this is probably also like talking about someone who's the thorn in your flesh, specifically them, because they're like the star that's been put in your life. Like, you know that movie, What About Bob? And Richard Dreyfuss is like he's on this vacation with his family and he's supposed to get like a 60-minute special, about him because he's written a book and he's like the psychologist or psychiatrist and he's like really proud of himself. He's trying to have his moment. He's trying to have his vacation like away at the summer with his family. And then like he has this like particularly annoying patient that like shows up in his vacation and like is like also obsessive compulsive. And he's like, the patient is Bill Murray. So Richard Dreyfuss can't stand this guy and he's like ruining the whole vacation, but everybody else loves him so much. They love Bob. The whole family loves Bob. They love Bob more than Richard Dreyfuss. And so by the end of it, Richard Dreyfuss is like coming apart at the seams and he's having like a nervous mental breakdown. And Bob, like the Bill Murrays of life, they feel like our curses, like, oh, how did this happen to me? Why is this happening to me? But they're actually sent by God. The schmucks, the assholes, the fucking pains in the ass, the bitches, they're all sent by God. They're there to prod you until you see that inclination pop out. And if you can overcome the trigger with them and just make your peace with it and like find your way to the other side of the struggle with the clashing of the issues with these people. Because it could be on a spectrum. It could be on like people who have, done some really shitty things to you, or it could be just like somebody who gets on your last nerve, Either way, they're put there for a reason. And so the faster you can stop hating the fact that they're in the movie and try to get to the bottom of why they're in the movie, usually they'll make their exit. Once you learn the lesson, they'll magically exit your situation. It's amazing. I've seen it happen over and over and over again for myself. So the person who's driving you the craziest right now, when you get to the bottom of that, not just because you're suppressing it and trying to get over it, like stuff it down, but you're really going into what it is about them that's bothering you and why. And then working on those things, that is the spiritual rebirth, right? Not because you're so refreshed that you're not annoying people that you're surrounded with. Okay, so the next card is our hopes and fears. Like this. Ooh, the law of attraction has been activated. Yay, very exciting. So yes, makes us hopeful. But also, when we're so close to getting something, it can also trigger our fear and make us want to hang on. Oh, I hope it happens. Like, let go of projected expectation. Just let go. Let go, let God. You've got, put your desire out there, follow up with effort, And also restriction, which is restraining yourself in some way, like having some kind of discipline, making some kind of sacrifice, you know. Maybe making a sacrifice in your, like, to transform your personality while you're making those physical efforts towards the goal. Even though they seem unrelated, they're not. That's the fertilizer for the seed. Remember, the transformation in our, you know, personality flaws and the ways we're balancing our virtues and vices and our attributes and all of that, correcting our soul, like all of these things. It's the fertilizer for our seeds. All right, the outcome, it's a good match. So hopefully it all comes together. Okay, this is specifically the romantic card. So romantic chemistry, worth exploring, something new to be learned, resonance, compatibility, a mirror, a worthy adversary, a good pairing, mixes well, two parts enhanced when brought together. So amazing. Venus, self-worth, all these issues, and money and love are connected. So if you've been having trouble, like say with your money, and then you're like, well, my love life isn't all that good either. You know, sometimes those things are connected. Like sometimes it's because you haven't set the right boundaries with yourself in relationships. And so when you start facing fears within relationships, it's like you're demonstrating your worth there. And so then you start making more money. Well, maybe you had issues like with your self-worth in work. And so when you're like taking up for yourself there, maybe that's making you more romantically, like you're setting yourself up like in a way that like you have more self-worth to draw in romance as well. Or like you're prepared for that. Okay, let's grab a couple of tarot cards. Ooh, 2 of Wands. Yay, we are here to the party. We are just waiting for everyone's arrival and for it all to get started. Waiting for it to all to come together, but we are ready for this new cycle to begin. We're here, we're ready, we've got a cool outfit on, we're on the balcony waiting on my drink. Love it. Love it. Well, the power of love. Okay, what is this? Oh, 9 of Pentacles. Yay, things coming into fruition, enjoying the fruits of our labor. Enjoying the guidance and messages we get from spirit. See, the bird is always like a messenger, but it's like a spiritual messenger. And the bird in the 9 of Pentacles represents the person's personal relationship with the Holy Spirit, which is guiding them and leading them. And you know what? This is often like the 9 of Pentacles points out that this person is usually a single individual. Which is like, I love this because it's just like we're here, we're at a singles mixer, we're waiting for like hotties to arrive, right? We are, you know, enjoying the fruits of our labor. We're sexy and independent and smart and savvy, and we are our self-worth is there, our value is there. Now we're just waiting on that last missing piece, which is romance. The thing about the 9 of Pentacles is it talks about how you have everything, you know, kind of falling into place. You've got a nice home life, like maybe your finances are doing better, but like they're still just, you're not quite settled into that domestic bliss quite yet. Okay. Ooh, Ace of Swords. Something is going to happen, a brilliant idea, but there's going to be like an inciting incident, like something's going to happen, something's shifting the energy around the situation. So new ideas, new cycles, new information coming, but a new start, and it might get off to like a little bit of like a bumpy start, but don't worry, but things will be getting off on the right foot. Don't be deterred by a little turbulence. We have 6 of Swords. So we're moving on from a difficult situation. We might feel a little stuck because I wasn't sure if this was reversed or upright. But if we feel stuck, just it's go back to studying and thinking about that sense of worthiness, right? Because look at the depiction of Six of Swords is usually like a woman, and sometimes accompanied by a child, leaving a situation behind. And it kind of feels like one of those like situations in the illustration of like they're leaving like a domestically kind of abusive situation. Like maybe, you know, they were in harsh circumstances and now they're escaping to more peaceful, calmer shores, and they're going to start a new life somewhere else and hope for better conditions, start over fresh and new somewhere else. So maybe, you know, we're getting over the past and maybe situations that left us feeling and questioning our worth and left us kind of shaken in that department. And it could have come from past relationships that were maybe outright abusive or borderline abusive, perhaps. And so I think we've moved beyond that now and we've moved on. But the healing, you know, the final stages of the healing are trying to present themselves now so that we can really move on into happy new experiences and cycles and circumstances and be unencumbered. All right, let's grab a lunation card. What do we have? Believe in the impossible. A blue moon. Guys. We have a blue moon this month. We've been manifesting miracles. Because we know the true source of all, right? It's so crazy. So be ready for miracles this month. Really, like, get into dreaming mode, get into action mode, get into real true transformation and sincerity in that change, and be like ever aware that the source of everything coming through is God. The source of all the strength and the talent and the ideas that come to you, it's all God. So we are only here to make ourselves the best channel, to basically to the best vessel to channel through that light, right? To be a good antenna to broadcast that radio station. So the best we can do is, you know, prime the vessel. Oh my gosh, Emperor, taking care of business. So logic and organization will increase your success. Take charge of the situation, accept a leadership role, structure and discipline. Structure and discipline, taking the lead in your life, you know, being a self-starter, taking initiative. But yes, having the discipline and the ability to govern yourself and govern your thoughts and your emotions and your actions. It's like, and your consciousness, it's like you have all of your kingdoms in order within yourself. You have self-control, you have self-possession, and therefore you can be effective and productive. So yes, adopting literally like disciplined routines will help as well. Let's grab a few cards on our manifestations. What is this? Ooh, protection. You, your loved ones, and your possessions are safe and protected by heaven. No surprise, because you know why? God is the source of all things, including our protection, including the challenges that we go through, right? Dream big. Dream big. Let go of small thoughts about yourself. See yourself succeeding. I'm feeling the manifestation energy right now. You're being helped. They've sent us help. Our heavenly helpers are helping. So, oh my gosh, heaven is working behind the scenes to help you, even if you don't see results yet. So just know that even if you don't see results, things are happening behind the scenes. They're moving scenery around and getting the props together. Synchronicity. Your prayers and questions are being answered by synchronistic events. Notice them in order to increase their flow. I've been having that a lot too recently. I've been having a lot of like synchronicities and signs and like little omens and things. Multiple times over the past like week or so, I've just been walking along and then I've heard like 4-leaf clovers screaming at me to look down, and I'll look down and then I'll find a whole bunch in like one little patch. I mean, like mushrooms scream at me to come into the forest and come find them so I will eat them. I'm not crazy. It's true. All right. Okay, what is this? Okay, so we're romance oracle cards. We're looking at our love life, and it says express your love. Go ahead and make the romantic gesture. You know, we used to use this deck like every week in our romance oracle messages, and I felt like we were only ever pulling like the same 8 cards, and we never pulled this card back then. Express your love. Go ahead and make the romantic gesture. Wow. So don't be too aloof or too cool or cold or standoffish. Put it out there. Ooh, attraction. This was a card that always came up because we're also attractive. You attract romantic love by enjoying this moment fully. This is the essence of Venus energy right here. Literally with the roses. Roses are associated with Venus. This is me out in my garden, just taking it all in and loving it, being present, being sensually plugged in to the things around you, the feelings, the sensations, the smells, the colors, everything. Just take in the beauty, be in it. When you feel good, things are drawn to you. In fact, I even got on Apple Music and I bought a bunch of feel-good songs, and I put together a feel-good playlist. And it is like really feel-good music. Like, you guys, 80s synth guy that's in like every great movie soundtrack, Steve Winwood, like he's got some of the best feel-good songs. Boy Meets Girl, they had like this one-hit wonder. It's the best feel-good song ever. Like, I went cheese, hardcore cheese, and I was feeling so good. And on my walks, like, I was like the star of the park. And I was just like chill and like quietly listening to my headphones, but I was just putting out the feel good vibes, and I was very magnetic. So make yourself a feel good playlist. Goes a long way. What do we got here? This could be the one. Well, we've heard that one before. We'll see. We believe, right? We believe in miracles. You've already met the romantic partner that you seek. What if it's the person we were talking about earlier that we can't stand? Just kidding. Let's not joke around. We don't want to manifest anything. Okay. All right. So this could be the one. You might already know this person. New love. So y'all, we've got express your love, attraction, be in the moment, be in love with life. This could be the one. You might already know this person. It's like new love's coming in. A new person has stirred your romantic feelings. Express your love. There's an attraction here. Cute. Cutesy pootsy. All right, let's grab some motherly advice then from our Mother Mary. Jesus, Mom watched over. Other protection card. We're being watched over. We're protected. Let's see. I allow myself to feel safe and enjoy my life, knowing that heaven is watching over me and my loved ones. I love that. Sometimes it's scary, in this world to go out and enjoy things fully, to go take an isolated walk through the woods or to put yourself out there to a cute stranger. Like, we live in a real effed up world, but you know what? We can't become like shut-ins. The other day, I can't remember what I just heard that was happening like somewhere, and I was like, wow, I might never leave the house again, ever. So it's very easy to be, oh, what is it called when someone has like, is it an agoraphobic? Is that what they're called when they don't leave the house? Because they're scared to go out in public. You know, it's very easy to become that, but you're watched over. So live life, enjoy life, trust that angels are watching over you, and trust, you know, don't be foolish and haphazard and be reckless with your life. But also know that like the challenges that we have and the tragedies and the crises and everything that happens is like destined, and it's part of the plan. Nothing is by accident, nothing is random. And so that takes a bit of the pressure off of us, but at the same time, things do happen, and nothing is random. And so, you know, if you have a feeling, trust your gut. You know, you can't just walk through the world taking no precaution. You can't just throw caution to the wind, but also, you know, we can live in the trust that, you know, nothing, whatever we are going to go through, it's part of our story, and God will be there with us through whatever it is. So it kind of makes me feel like, oh, that's not in my destiny. I think I'll be safe in this situation. Sometimes it's very comforting, but also I'm like, well, what's looming around the corner? But like, there are certain things that I feel confident about. Like, I don't think I'll ever die in a plane crash. Like, I feel very safe on planes, even when there's a lot of turbulence. And then I don't think that I will die in a tornado. So I'm never really that scared in a tornado, even though we have some scary ones in Tennessee. All right, where are we? Where am I? All right, let's finish off with a bang. Let's get some loving words from Jesus. See what Jesus has to say. Ooh, be not afraid, only believe, you guys. This was our last card from the last lunation. This was the one we got last time. This is not a card we get often either out of this deck. So I love that. I love that. This was the card that we got last time, and I started pushing myself to tithe even though I was afraid. And look at all the abundance coming in, right? Be not afraid. Only believe. Love that. Thanks, Jesus. All right, you guys, that's all for tonight. Got in a cool 57 minutes. Happy new moon in Taurus. Remember, really use this time wisely to steep in the things that are inspiring you and filling you with love and beauty and the desires that you want to manifest, and take action in that direction, but also take action in inner transformation, which will fertilize the seeds that you're planting. All right, y'all, that's all for tonight. Ciao.